Hi, my name is Ethan McKean. I'm an early career software engineer, and I'd like to take the time to introduce my website and some of my thoughts behind it and the process of that I had creating it. Um, so let's get started with that. First, let's just go to my website, ethanmckean.com. Here it is, loading in. But how did I get to this point where I have this website? Um, First, I started as what most people do is doing some research. There was three kind of uh, paths that I could have taken, right? I could have used a template, which is what I ended up doing. Um, I could have used no template and just made it completely by hand, or I could have went through like a third-party site like Squarespace or something, right? Um, but what I ended up doing was I used a template from this site here, HTML5 up. It's this one right here, solid state, if you also wanted to use it. But there's some pros and cons. I'll talk about that later about using a template. I ended up making it just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, um, which also I'll talk about in terms of uh, what more I'd want to add in the future. But starting with how did I get here? How did I decide what I wanted to look? Yes, a template. Like I found a template and it was helpful. But it's like, okay, now what do I want the actual final thing to look like, right? Because there's so many different ways you can make it look. I started here. I found this website called Landing Folio. It had a bunch of like inspirations on it of like different landing pages and websites. This one I found myself particularly drawn to. I liked its clean design. It was very simple. It kind of like gives like introduction of like who this person is. It's a nice like candid photo, and then it's like here's the part that I really liked was this part where it's like, oh, what can you expect from me? And like through reading this, it should like build a connection to the person that the website corresponds to, and it has like a little call to action, like, hey, let's get started. So I kind of really like this, and I took this into my design. As you see, we just have like my name simply, and then like some sort of subline here, um, and then we have some more stuff that I'll get to. But in terms of the design, what really helped was ChatGPT. Um, I asked it questions like, "Hey, I need a tagline on my landing page," or because coming up with these things like leveraging software engineering to bring tomorrow's solutions today. Like I kind of knew what I wanted to put here, but I didn't know what wording to use. I didn't know what I thought would be good. Like I had a few ideas. Something just like, oh, like something like, oh, solving puzzles with software engineering or something like that. But the key that I found to whenever I needed a tag, sorry about that, a tagline like this was to ask ChatGPT to put it in a corporate language. It comes out very professionally, very clean, and yeah, and that's what I found really helps. But also what helped was ChatGPT kickstarted my ideas. So if we scroll down a bit, we see like these little pictures and stuff, and you're like, Ethan, where'd you find these? Did you make these yourselves? No, I didn't make these myself. I asked ChatGPT, like I needed like art, and specifically I put in I'd love to use corporate style art to include on my website, right? So that made me find Pixabay. And through here, I could type in like keywords like problem solving and come up with pictures, and I could find ones that I like and choose to use them. And that's where I got all of these from. Um, Additionally, what I used was to get my custom domain, as you see here, we used a site called Namecheap. This is how I bought my domain, and I'm managing it. And then I use GitHub to host it for me through GitHub pages. Um, and then I'm also using Google Analytics to keep track of my users and stuff so that I could just see, I could say like, oh, like I attracted this many users in X amount of time, which I think is something nice to have for your website. Um, More specifically, let's go over what I actually put on here. Up here, we just have like a simple little header to introduce myself. Then I put a little summary of myself. It doesn't, it like, rather than talk about my entire journey, I just gave an idea of who I am as a person outside of just computer science, right? I talk about how I've graduated from Cal State San Bernardino with my bachelor's in computer science. Currently, I am a fellow at HeadStarter for software engineering. And then I talked about some interests outside of software engineering, stuff like basketball and stuff like that, and cooking. And then I had a call to action within it, and it says, "Oh, like if I sound like an interesting person to you, connect with me on LinkedIn, which you can access from up here." And up here, I have links to my LinkedIn, so clicking on it will open my LinkedIn. Additionally, you can get to my GitHub through here, and then it'll also set up an email to email me, and then also clicking on here, you'll view my resume. Now, the way I did my resume was for a particular reason. I did it so it shared a drive with my current resume so that rather than put my resume directly as a source into the web page, and it just opens it for you, I did this because rather than having to submit changes to my website, like commit, make pushes, and update my website every time I made a change to my resume, I could just change what is in this folder called current resume. Um, and this is just my generic resume that I have. But if I ever want to like add projects, because through this fellowship I'm probably gonna make changes to this, because this is before the fellowship, my current resume. I do need to update it, but that just I found it easier to do. And then if we scroll down, it talks about what I offer, which was where I took from the inspiration. This tells you a little bit about what you'll get if you either hire me, work with me, whatever, right? So it talks about kind of like things that I hold, right? And then I have kind of like a faux resume here. I have what I've done, and these are the highlighted projects that are currently on my resume. These are projects I made on in school that I think demonstrates my capabilities pretty well. And then at the bottom, I have click here to view my resume, which again just takes you to my resume. And then at the bottom, I have a story. More so, it tells the story of why I chose software engineering, how I'm in the position I'm in, why did I go to school for software engineer, like to get my degree, and why I chose software engineering. Because computer science degree, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be a software engineer if you get a computer science degree. And at the bottom, I have one more call to action, kind of saying, let's build something. I'm ready. The question is, are you? And then I have like my contacts here with my email, my LinkedIn, my GitHub, my resume, and then a button to take you back to the top of the page. That's pretty much everything. But I wanted to talk about some pros and cons and some problems I had. So, like I said, you could go. I feel like this graph is no by way backed up by any data. This is just an interpretation of how I feel by using the different methods. Like if I went no template, right, it would take me a long time to get to where you start with the template because you have to code and make everything by hand. Figure out your style, your colors, choose your colors, all that kind of stuff. Um, but the issue I see with template is that you get this nice boost in the beginning here. Whoops. This nice boost in the beginning here, right? Because it's just simple. I could jump straight into adding things that I want to add. But once I get to a point where I want to add things that are outside of the template scope, I have to actually sit and study the template itself. I have to read what's there. I have to figure out what the styling is so that I can make the style consistent between any new functions I want to add. So there's just this long stall of me understanding what's currently in the template, and then I can continue to progress, right? And with using something like a third party is like you have this big gap where you kind of have to learn how to use the third party, and like maybe you don't see any progress at all, and then you have this like sudden jump where like okay, now you have a decent website that's usable, and then like to add anything to that, I feel like you don't get as much complexity as you do from doing hand typed HTML, CSS, JavaScript functions. Um, some things that I do want to add, uh, I'd like it like if you hover over some of these, I might add hyperlinks that take you straight to the GitHub links. Like so, if you click on N by N Queens, it'll take you to my GitHub link that has that project because all these projects are posted on my GitHub. Um, and additionally, one thing I want to add is I feel like it's missing one key thing, one key kind of function that shows that I'm a software engineer. Um, Maybe I need to put software engineering somewhere up here, somewhere bold like right now it doesn't say anything really about software engineering except here, and then through reading it you kind of find out yes, this is a software engineer I'm talking to. So I need to really introduce something that says bang, I'm a software engineer. Um, like this is what you'll get out of me kind of thing. But on top of that, I need a complex mechanic or function within implemented within the web page, whether it be like stuff spinning or crazy functions that like do something really cool, like ChatGPT integration or what have you, right? Um, but on top of that, that's the main thing I feel like I'm missing. So in the future, I'll probably add links to my GitHub pages if this is the version I'm staying with. But in a next version, a potential new version, I'd probably scrap all this and start completely different. Taking what I've learned and making something that is more complex in function, whether it be like having all this not be available and just having buttons that say like, hey, this is what I offer, and then it like is like a carousel kind of under that says like, oh, what I offer, and then etc. Right? Um, Maybe using more complex functions like that, befitting of somebody who is a software engineer. But I wanted to get something kind of quick and simple done. I really think it came out very clean and nice and functional. Uh, and I hope that if you are making a website or if you wanted to kind of see what my insights were, you learn something and or like understand why I made the decisions I make. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.